So Lavrov is going to be there, and the president of Ukraine is going to be there, and they are going to be, and he's going to sit in front of the war criminal. That is a platform which we should use to meet those countries which we cannot reach in the other ways.
Hello and welcome to Ukraine in Flames, a special project by Ukraine Media Center, an NGO Euro-Atlantic course, and I'm your host, Miroslava Yaremkiv. After the start of Russia's full-scale war against Ukraine, both the Security Council and the UN in general began to come under increasing criticism. Politicians are especially worried about Russia's behavior as a permanent member of the Security Council. Moscow has repeatedly used the right of veto, blocking unfavorable proposals of the international community. In December 2022, Ukraine called for Russia to be stripped of its status as a permanent member of the Security Council and expelled from the UN. However, according to the current UN Charter, this cannot be done without the consent of Russia itself. In today's episode, we're going to talk about how Ukraine can use the UN platform, taking into account the prevailing situation and geopolitical dynamics, and the evolving practice of diplomatic boycotts within the Security Council. If you want to learn more about this subject, please continue watching this video and subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss our videos in the future. During his recent address at the UN Security Council meeting, President Zelensky underscored that the UN is at a dead end regarding aggression, and everyone in the world can see what exactly makes the UN ineffective. He emphasized that the veto should not serve as a weapon for those obsessed with hatred and war. At the same time, he stressed that any participation of any state member of the Security Council should be suspended for the time when such a state, in violation of the UN Charter, acts aggressively against another nation. Chairman of the UCMC board and Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Ukraine, Valery Chaly, also cast doubt on the effectiveness and the levers of influence that the Security Council and the United Nations in general has during the period of the largest war in Europe since World War II.
So I do not like this kind of organization when you have to bargain on the vote. You have to exchange something. You have to give something. That is not the market. So what has this organization turned into? So we are exchanging the votes. I vote for you, you vote for me. That is okay. If we're talking about participation in some institutions, of course, we do understand that not everyone can participate at once. But then give me more money or weapons and I will vote for you. So we have this similar case when we managed to persuade some countries of CIS countries and they supported Ukraine and therefore they got some problems from Russia, from Moscow, but they tried to do it once. But what for do we need this kind of organization where you have to bargain who will pay more? And I wouldn't say it was huge. It's like 12, 15,000 people. But it's like, if we're talking about international organizations, that's not a big organization. But there are other organizations like FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization, and, I do not want to say something about their principles and how they work, who gets the orders and who gets the grain, how it works out. It's not transparent at all. And what about the equipment for the peacemaking operations? And what about the funds? So there are so many questions to this monster, which has the system of organization of the UN, UNESCO, MAGATE, and that are also organization of the UN, the system of the UN. And nobody is going to liquidate MAGATE, even though we hear the calls to do that. We are not saying that the Russian Federation will not come back. We are saying that it should not be allowed to be there because they have no legal registration in the Security Council. Because the Republic of Belarus, they have joined, and we do not have the Republic of Belarus, they registration, and we do not have the Soviet Belarus Republic. And this country, Russia, it has three different names, so nobody understands what kind of country is mentioned. The former Russian Soviet Republic, the Russian Federation of Russia. So that is actually strange, because Putin has to apply and to join as the other countries did it. So why? It is so simple. A student of the first year of studies of the international law, so even the student can say that I read it clear. So there are the standards, there is a regulation, and you can turn it twice, you can turn it 3 times, but nevertheless it is written clear. How it is, there are clear rules how you can become the member of the Security Council, and that is the beginning of all the problems. If you are not legitimate and someone is listening to you, you are staying there and someone is listening to you. In this case, you start to feel yourself the master. And here we have the practical issues. So we have Russia, and Putin is not there, and he is not attending these meetings for a very long time. There was one time when he attended the General Assembly, I think it was 2015, and our representative of the UN worked well, and Ukraine got the first line. Well, actually, that was rotation, but we were lucky. With the efforts, but you gain nothing without efforts. And when Putin came out, the delegation turned their backs to Putin and went away. And in this case, the Security Council would be there, and Lavrov would be there, and the president of Ukraine is going to attend. So here we have two very important questions. The Ukrainian delegation probably has their vision, and the president has his vision. But nevertheless, if there is no level of presidents, well, Brazilian president is going to be. Brazil is not in the UN. Okay, so they are not going to be there. Okay, so I do not know who is going to be there on the Security Council. So Lavrov is going to be there, and the president of Ukraine is going to be there, and they are going to be, and he's going to sit in front of the war criminal. He is not only the war criminal, but also he has another status. He is a diplomat, and that is a propagandist. And by the way, the person who admitted the war crimes of the Russian Federation when he stated that they were bombing the maternity house in Mariupol.
Indeed, the war waged by Russia against Ukraine has led to the ultimate degradation of the largest institution. The existing global security framework is ill-equipped to respond to an aggressor deploying the most advanced forms of weapons of mass destruction. As a permanent member of the UN, Russia is intensifying the global food crisis, engaging in the abduction of Ukrainian children, and employing the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant as the leverage to coerce the international community into accepting the occupation of Ukrainian territories under the threat of a potential nuclear attack. Former permanent representative of Ukraine to the UN and ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary of Ukraine, Volodymyr Yelchenko, raises concerns about the lack of diplomatic boycotts during Security Council meetings and questions the legitimacy of the Russian Federation's UN membership.
Well, actually, I was surprised, and I was mentioning that in my interviews and speeches, and everyone knows my position. Why, during all this time, more than 1 year and a half, there was no time when the thing, which is not maybe that important, but that much evident as like something like boycott of banning blocking of the Russian representatives. We were doing that constantly when the civil representative was reading the speech. We Chukin and Nibinse were staying, and me and Samantha Powers, Nikki Haley, and the ambassadors of the UK and some Western countries, Swiss. So they were just leaving from from the room, and that had a good impression, because that was very much saying when you watch it on TV. Why nothing like that was doing. There were dozens of meetings dedicated to the situation of Ukraine, and nothing like that happened. And as for the Committee on the Authority, that is also the question for me. Why until now we are not initiating formally the request to this committee not to recognize the participation of the Russian Federation, just because since December 1991, for some reason, they take it illegally. So we have 9 countries, and they are changing. Yeah, they are changing, and there is some kind of balance. And this year, I did not count it, but in 2022, we had 6 votes. I do not remember the countries who voted for us, but that could have been the UK, the US, Japan, France, Swiss, and so 6 voices we got. And through this committee, 3 years, the Hungarian delegation was not recognized after 1996. And as for the Southern African Republic, you mentioned this option. There was another option. First, there was a General Assembly, which wrote a big resolution, also urging not to recognize the authority of this delegation. And later, there was a committee of on authorities, and they also said the same thing. So I think it lasted for 17 years until they didn't have the good elections, the proper elections. That is a platform which we should use to meet those countries which we cannot reach in the other ways. And we have things to discuss. I mean, the president of Ukraine, that is the food product, that is Africa, that is also the president of Brazil, and to persuade him that he is wrong with his peace plan, which is not even on Earth, but flying somewhere in the clouds. But also the meeting with the Mexican leader. And also there was, nobody noticed it, there was a plan which was offered by the Ministry of Defense of Indonesia. I guess it happened 3 months ago. And he thought that Ukrainian Soviet Republic has contributed a lot to Indonesia, and that's true. At that time, we were a Security Council. Magnitsky was in 1946, 1947 was in this council, and then the solution, the decision on Indonesia was made. And Silitsky, I couldn't find any information, but some people say that he himself wrote the project of resolution of the Security Council of the UN, which appeared to be the consensus, and Indonesia became independent. That is the biggest Muslim country. And the Minister of Defense of Indonesia remembered that, and they said that they are ready to give their active peacemaker. They have a strong army. They have it is present in many countries. They wanted to bring it to Donbass, to put it there, and the thing is that only the Security Council has to sign it, and that's it. Anyway, I hope that he was honest when making that, unlike the Brazilian president who just said something about the southern conflict.
You've been watching the special project of Ukraine Media Center, an Euro-Atlantic course dedicated to the Russian-Ukrainian war, Ukraine in Flames. In the description under this video, you can find information on how you can help Ukraine fight Russian aggression. If you find our work useful, please like and share this video. Slava Ukraini!